Hi guys and gals, it's Talon here, back with part 2. This is going to be identical to the first one, apart from we'll be using an Airbus instead. I'm going to be going fairly fast through this. It will act as a guide in its own right, but I will be skipping a lot of the explanation we did for the first one. So we'll be using the default Airbus A321 in this one, and we'll be doing exactly the same flight as we did before, which worked very well. We can, or you can actually load Bournemouth Heathrow as a flight plan, because it's the one we did last time, or you can create it from scratch. Just remember IFR and VOR. Yes, we want to move the plane. I don't want it at 5 in the morning because I want it to be a little bit light, so yeah, somewhere up that's absolutely fine. So, we're all set up. Fly now. Now, the Airbus has got a very, very similar system to the Boeing. Very, very similar. It's got the same sort of autopilot. I just don't like the layout of it. Some people prefer it. It's far more streamlined and sleek. I just prefer the old-fashioned way, because there are lights that tell me when things are turned on and off, and it saves me forgetting things. But it's the Airbus isn't anything to particularly fear. It's just it's just bits to remember. Let's put it that way. So once it's loaded in, I can show you what I mean. So again, this applies mainly to the default A321. It's got a glitch, which is a known glitch. It's been around for years. There are patches for it if you're so inclined. I very, very rarely fly the A321, so it doesn't particularly bother me. But I'll come on to that in a moment. So, when we load, we are sat on the runway. And first things first, we need to get into the other view. So right-click, cockpit, there we go. And straight away you should be able to see that a lot of the buttons in the middle are missing. There were buttons that said heading hold and altitude hold, all that sort of stuff, which were lit when you pressed them, and they're gone. And that's the bit I don't like, is now you actually press these buttons themselves to enable and disable them, which is fine if you remember to do it. And that's all I'll say. So first things first, F8, or full flaps for takeoff on this one. You'll notice on the right hand side of the screen, down the bottom right here, the flaps are already starting to come down. That's great. And there's a couple of bits that we can do just to set ourselves up. So flight director, FD, this one here, we need to press that. We also need to press autopilot, and we can press auto throttle. Those are the auto bits set up now, so the system's now live. Speed, we're going to have that up to somewhere around about 250, 260 is absolutely fine. We can change that once we're in the air, that's absolutely fine. Heading, we're going to be runway heading, so for Bournemouth that's 78, so we'll change that. Now, there we go. One thing we can do is press that one now, which is heading hold. We don't want to press speed hold, and we don't want to press altitude hold yet, but we can change the altitude up to 3,000, because I know that's what it's going to tell us anyway. So there we go. And now we'll just get some clearance. So, same as before, tune Bournemouth ground. This is the bit that takes a little bit of time before we take off. So yeah, I mean, what I was saying last time was I will start doing, after this one, I will start doing some tutorials about taxiing and some of the other systems involved. But again, it depends how fast you want to learn this sim, because if all you want to do is take off from your local airport and land at Malaga or somewhere like that, this will do you quite happily. You'll be taking off from the runway, landing on the runway, and that's all you have to do pretty much for the whole thing. But right, read that correct, yeah. So again, like I said with the last tutorial, we are going to be getting a lot of things that don't actually apply to us. Like this, request taxi. Contact tower. Now, I did notice in the last video that I did that the outside shots were really, really choppy, and the reason for that actually was because I run two screens, two monitors, and FSX bizarrely lets you go onto the second monitor even when you don't allow it to, and it just messed up the recording, so that's why I'm just going to try and keep this interior as much as possible this time. So, request takeoff clearance. And clear for takeoff, we'll acknowledge that. And there we go, we are prepped. So now we'll press this one here, which is speed hold. We will just wait until we get up to around about, and as we're starting to move now, around about 150, 160, and then we'll press the altitude hold. Airbuses have got this amazing knack of not realising what speed you're doing, and even if we were doing this all at speed 80, we would already be nose off the ground, because it would be thinking, oh, he wants to be at 3,000, even, I don't know, the Boeings just seem to take into account of the speed you're doing. So we're up to 160, we'll press this one now. But yeah, the Boeings just seem to know what you're doing a bit better. Press G for gear, we'll press F5 to bring the flaps all the way up. But yeah, it's personal preference. Like it's not a horrible system, this one, by any means. I just prefer the other one. So here we go. We should start getting some instructions now on where we are going to. Contact London departure, acknowledge handoff. And tune London departure, contact London departure. Just going to speed the plane up a little bit, so we'll go up to about 310 now, will be nice, or 315. Turn left heading 025. Just waiting to acknowledge that. Yep. They'll probably start with us a lot of instructions very quickly, but again, similar to the Boeing, where we change it, it changes. Now once the initial few instructions are out the way, we can talk about the landing a bit better. That's pretty much us geared up for the whole flight now. And one quite fun thing about the Airbus is this center screen here. You can actually change it to show you various things. Right, contact zone approach. Now, I mean, of course, I've used the default planes for both of these first two tutorials, but I'm still umming whether to carry this on as a series or not. If I do, I'll more than likely start using a few of the... I don't use DLCs for this, there's no point, there's too much freeware out there to actually warrant buying anything for it. But I might use a couple of download planes. Right, turn right heading 055, but if I do that, then I will certainly give you links to where you can get them from. There's some absolutely brilliant ones out there. 055. So yeah, I mean, if you remember from last time, if you don't, I'll just give you a quick walkthrough. We found out that the runway we're going to be landing on is 9 right for Heathrow. If you haven't watched the first one, you just want to fly an Airbus, then the fifth one from the left is display and hide map. This is how we land. We'll have to zoom out because we're quite a long way away. We click on, so we're quite a long way off at the moment, the place we're going to, EGLL, press OK. We look up the runway it's told us to land on, and the frequency, which is 109.5. So I prefer being nice and prepared, so we can get that set up now. Now, Airbus being Airbus, there's another separate system for that, so we'll bring up the radio stack. This one, instead of having them all laid out, we click nav 1, and the one on the right here, we turn the outer wheel to bring that down to 109, and the inside wheel to change that to 5, so there we are, that's the perfect one. That can get hidden now until we're gearing up for landing. One thing that I need to mention about the default Airbus A321 is that there is a known glitch. Now, I was mentioning this at the start, which is that the auto brake system doesn't work. Where the auto brake is on this is the third from the right here, other controls. This is where auto brake is. Unfortunately, you can't actually click on anything. It's been like it since the game came out. They've never fixed it, but there are patches, user patches for it. So if you're intending on flying the Airbus for any length of time, I would strongly recommend getting that patch. I don't bother simply because it's not an aircraft I particularly use very often. So yeah, I mean, it's quite fun. The left-hand display here, of course, showing you all the important things. The middle one can be quite fun to mess around with. So, you know, I mean, at the moment it's on there, so we can, you know, change it to show us lots of pretty things. It's actually quite nice setting it to ILS, especially when you're coming into land, because it will show you exactly, you know, where the runway is and all that sort of stuff. So I tend to have it set to that view, but again, because everything's done for you, it's all automatic, it's not really a huge problem. But yeah, so anyway, I'm just going to raise the speed again very slightly, just to get us there a bit quicker. Yeah, so just for about the next 5-10 minutes, sit back, enjoy the ride. There's not really much else I can say about this. But yeah, you'll see in a few minutes. Landing is extremely similar with the Airbus as well, where we tell it the radio frequency, which we've already programmed into it, and it guides itself and lands itself. So do a different view. The problem is that the last video I did watch some of it back, and I noticed that the video was really choppy. Right, contact line of approach. The only problem is it is a bit of a boring view to stare at for the next 10 minutes until we land, but yeah. Turn left heading 030. It's quite a nice little beginner flight, this one, actually, Bournemouth to Heathrow, because it's not very long. You know, it's like you've seen in this video and the last one, 25 minutes, and you experience the full works, and it's not a huge amount of time down the drain if you decide to cast scrap metal all the way across Heathrow Airport, but hopefully with these guys you shouldn't do that. You should be too much of an expert for that sort of thing to affect you. Right, so remember what I said last time, turn left heading 360 is 0. So, bring that around now. Now that says to me that we're actually fairly close now, actually, because you don't need to do this, but hurry up the GPS very quickly and zoom out. We should see. Yep, so here's Heathrow up here, so it's going to have us coming up here, doing a nice right-hand turn to line up with the runway. Now, again, this is actually a really useful feature, this one. The GPS, because there's ways you can actually program the GPS to essentially land the plane for you as well, but it's just a touch more complex than doing it this way. The ILS approach is by far the easiest. It's funny, I played Explain a little while ago, and I've always been much more of an FSX fan than Explain. Some people swear by Explain, it's great, but I just love the simplicity of FSX. It's got great scenery, especially when you get some of the download packs. Right, where are we here? We are 27 miles southwest, turn right, heading 060, descend and maintain to 500. Right, so we will acknowledge that. In a second, right, let's actually do it first. Right, so heading, there we go, acknowledge. 060, too far. And descend to 2,500. There we go. So opportunity Heathrow Tower now, and contact the tower to request landing. Make straight in, which is what we expected. And we'll acknowledge the instructions, and what we will do now is we'll flick back up the radio tower, and now with nav1 selected we'll press this middle button and get it sent to the left hand side. Sorry, drop that out of the way, and now we'll click the approach button. So that's us pretty much geared up for landing again now. So we'll start bringing the speed down nicely, so we'll actually bring that right the way down to 200. It'll slow down its own time. Now once we're under around about 260, we'll give it some flaps. So yeah, we're slowing down very nicely now. So we'll just give her 2 flaps. So that's F7 twice. There we go. The plane's just started to bank, so we're not very far away now. So I'm actually going to bring the speed down now to 160, which is what we're going to try and aim for to land at. Don't worry about the buzzing going off, that's another classic Airbus, so we'll give it 1 more flaps. And now we're under 200, we will press G to bring the gear down. Slowing down, and now we'll give it full flaps, which is either F7 again or F8. So we'll just have a quick peek outside. Looking very, very nice. You see the flaps down, the gear down. Yeah, let's still turn just a touch, it shouldn't be too long now. Now, again, bearing in mind that because of that glitch, we haven't actually got auto brakes. So one difference is we are going to be pressing and holding F2, the same as we did before, which reverses the engine thrust, but this time, to actually bring it to a halt, we are going to have to press full stop to apply the brakes ourselves. So let's see the runway coming up in the distance now. Really now you could actually go just to the virtual cockpit view. It's a bit nicer to look at, but and you can work the whole lot off of here if you really want to, but again, for simplicity, certainly starting players, this is definitely the view to use. It just makes life so much easier. So I'm just waiting now until we start to descend. this definitely lined us up nicely, which is what we were aiming for. I mean, obviously you've seen yourself, you probably could have stayed fast for a little bit longer, but especially because it's a tutorial, I prefer getting things done. I just prefer, you know, let's play on the side of caution here to make sure we come for a nice landing. So here we go. You notice the nose dropping down slightly, so we're coming in for our final approach. So yeah, when we come into land now, there's a couple of buttons to remember. The first thing we are going to be doing is hitting the auto throttle switch, this one here, to cut the engines, otherwise we're going to be at full power until the end of the runway. There's a couple of things to do in very quick succession. So first thing is click that, second thing press and hold F2, and the third thing, here we go, clear to land. I'll have to go through that again in a second, sorry, it's cut me off. The third thing is that, right, let's go through that again. So press auto throttle, press and hold F2, and the other thing is press full stop, and also the button next to it, I don't know how you'd sort of explain, the forward slash. If you tap that, that will bring up the air brakes on the wings too, so that will also help us to slow down. So I will tell you as I'm doing them. They're approaching very slowly, and slow is good in this game. Almost there, finally. So here we go, and like I say, first thing we're going to be doing is pressing auto throttle, pressing and hold F2 for as long as we can, and I will be hitting forward slash as well. So those are the three things straight away. I don't want to cut the throttle quite too early. We'll come down for a nice gentle landing here. There we go, and auto throttle, press and hold F2, forward slash, and the speed's starting to drop away nicely now. And we can press full stop, so what I've got my finger on now is full stop and on F2, which will apply the brakes and the reverse thrust. There we go. So down to 40, you can let go of them now if you really want. Turn next taxiway, again that's going to be for future tutorials, so I don't really care about that. But yeah, so that's that. Now if I do just go to an outside view very quickly, before the plane stops, I don't know if you notice that on top of the wings, that's the air brake, so if I press forward slash again, you'll see them drop back in. So that's what that just did, it just helped us slow down a little bit more, especially because we didn't have the auto braking on. And now, press and hold full stop, and there we go, we are landed. So yeah, that's the Airbus A321 for you. Hope you enjoyed that, guys, and I hope that helped somewhat, and I'll see you for the next one.